I'm going to send out an email that solicits people to join a new forum we are setting up. And we haven't had a lot of people join the forums or be active on the forums yet, but the advantage of those on our website is that you are able to communicate with other members through our website, which really cannot be done without administrators sending out emails other than on the forums. I'm going to be sending out an email inviting people to join a forum that is devoted to researching the park regulations so that we can evaluate where we can go look for mushrooms and figure out what the rules are in those mushrooms, and ultimately talk to the authorities in charge of those parks. I was talking at the Sequanota meeting to some of the people from the Western Penn Club, and Pennsylvania clubs have done a great job in communicating with their governmental authorities and obtaining ability to have permits to take walks in various parks that might not otherwise be available to people. And first thing we need to do is figure out what the rules are. And we have a really complex issue around DC because we have not only 3 state jurisdictions, multiple county jurisdictions, which also set their own rules for their own parks, and the federal parks, both the national parks and the national forests. And so there's a whole bunch of different rules, and it would really be nice to find out exactly where we can go to look and collect for mushrooms. Because people are familiar with their own spaces that they go to and the kinds of parks that they're in, I would really encourage you to join and contribute what you know, join that forum and contribute what you know about your local parks and what the collection regulations are. And we may ultimately be able to use that to help guide people to particular parks in the area where we can take forays, or you can go out and look for mushrooms yourself. So keep an eye out for that. And also, I think it's just useful to sign on to the forum itself and get an idea of how those forums work and how you could use them. There's some privacy issues around those that you might want to pay attention to. So when you log on to the forum explanation page for this particular regulation research forum, there'll be an explanation of what those privacy issues are. You might want to change some of your own privacy settings on our website, and there'll be more of an explanation. We'll probably have a short Zoom meeting to familiarize people with that. But it's one of the reasons that I think we haven't really aggressively pushed this, because it requires people pay attention to the privacy issues associated with posting on our website.
Well, one thing I will mention is sometimes with the park regulations, it more matters who you're talking to, because some park rangers may be more than happy and want to join you on a foray. And then some might, you know, regardless of what's written in the rules, be like, no, you must not come here. You know, so it depends on also who you're talking to. Also, back to the mushroom, like you said about the chanterelles, a lot of times chanterelles like it when it's wet. They're not they don't fruit the same as something like morels, where morels tend to come up and they don't like, what would be a good term for it, but basically just kind of growing over time. So they have a certain amount of time that they will grow. Whereas chanterelles, if they have the right conditions, you might see a bigger flush at a certain time, but they'll continue to grow in those same areas over time, especially if it's wet. And I looked at the weather on the phone, and it looks like this might be a really wet few days over the next few days. And if that's the case, that's going to be nice condition, especially for something like black chanterelles, which are probably a little bit more dependent on the moisture and the rain and staying nice and damp for fruiting. So keep your eyes open, because they really may be coming up soon. So, all right, sorry, I don't know if I interrupted there.
Thanks, Mitch. That's great. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that MAW is coming up on its 25th anniversary, and I'm going to also start up a forum for people, any members, to participate in, to redo or discuss how to redo our bylaws as well as our articles of incorporation, because there's been some problems associated with how we do voting, attributable to the fact that when our articles were drafted, the internet didn't exist yet. And the law has somewhat changed on it. And I think what I'd like to try to do is get the sense of other members who are participants who, and including, I'm sure we got a lot of lawyers in Washington, some who might want to learn a little bit about tax exempt formation law and how to draft these things, that we could participate, look at some other people's examples of how they are doing this currently, in order to try to adapt our articles to what we are in effect doing, which is online voting for our board, and as well as whether decisions are being made at the board level, committee level, or whether they need to be approved by a certain number of members of the club itself, which under our current drafts would seem to require actual in-person physical meetings, which are impractical now with over 950 members in the club. So these forums are, I think, even if you're not interested in a particular forum, it's useful to look at the forum explanations, because I think it's one way for us to interact better with our other members.